Hello, everybody. How are we all doing? I'm hoping it's very, very well because we're up and we're going and we're streaming and it's a good time. And Leeds United have had a couple of little bits and bobs of news which should be relatively interesting. When he watches this back, Joe, he will be fully aware of the fact that I didn't do the testy, wordsy thing. So if everything goes wrong, if I manage to call this stream, we can blame Joe, so that's all good. But yeah, welcome on in. Today we've got a couple of things to discuss. We've got Muharemovic, who has now reportedly flown in, having, well, in the morning flew in, had his medical, and then we are roughly where we are now, which is awaiting him effectively formally signing all of the everything, which should be a matter of time. It will be formally announced in the next couple of days, and there's also been a little bit of chat around Shay Charles again, which I think is pretty interesting and will be a fairly big topic of conversation, which is quite nice. Hey up, Michael Isles, how are you doing? I'm hoping quite well. And we're just going to have a little bit of a chat and a Q&A and all that kind of stuff. Good afternoon, Danny. I hope you're well as well. Well, I'm going to change my things around because for some reason the chat thing isn't showing up again, which is always fun. I'm going to have to work on that one. Ah, well. And also, if people want, even though it was depressing, we might talk about the England match last night, but that was properly depressing because it was in our hands, and then we just decided that we would put it out of our hands and we would give it to their hands, and then it'd all fall apart and it'd be stupid. What's the point anymore, man? Why do we do it? It's fine. Hello, Tony, and hello, Harvey. I'm doing okay. I was a little bit annoyed yesterday because it felt like, well, we're saying no England, so that's okay. But I was a little bit annoyed yesterday, but I'm all good now. Things are popping in the right direction, including on the Shay Charles deal. We'll have a little bit of a talk about the Shay Charlesy stuff. Hello there, Rich. Hope you're doing well. Um, yeah, Shay Charles at the sort of not at the start of the weekend on Monday. It basically came out from a lot of different directions that Shea Charles had effectively agreed a deal to come to Leeds United. This wasn't just from you. Well, I say that this came from many different sources that have all sort of popped out through different outlets. So a couple of media sources said it. Several YouTubers said it, but said YouTubers all had different sources to one another. Me being one of said YouTubers who still 100% sort of backs that source that I had at that time. And now it's coming out a little bit further. So, if I have a very quick search to see who I saw it from earlier today. According to Saints Extra, a deal for Shea Charles is nearing for Leeds United, with hopes growing that an agreement with Southampton is now close. This is where things get a little bit weird, because that specific report came through Team Talk. Team Talk is one of those big question mark ones, one of those kind of daft sources where they will just say things. And as a result, you kind of have to also just sort of keep a rough eye on what's going on there. But there is an ongoing theory at the moment. And said theory is that the official sort of club outlets, the places that clubs go with these little bits of information, are being kept a couple of days behind the loop. Which makes a little bit of sense. It would sort of add up for what Leeds, at the very least, have done for quite a while now, because we like to keep the media relatively segmented and have a little bit of control over what the messaging is around these kind of things. Now, we have a little something from the likes of Saints Extra saying things along the lines of, over the weekend, Leeds returned with their latest and probably final offer for Shea Charles, believed to be 23 plus 2 million in add-ons. We're waiting for Southampton's response. If you take that 2-day lag time into account, then that says that we will have probably made that bid on Monday. We'll have probably had a response on Monday. We'd heard that Leeds' sort of deadline to get the deal done was on the 13th, which was Monday. And in my opinion, that's what's happened. That sort of big conversation's gone on. We've come to an agreement with Southampton. I don't think personal terms are going to be an issue in the slightest, because at the end of the day, Shea Charles is going to want to go somewhere where he's not only getting football, but he's playing at a decent level. And Southampton coming back up again is, what's a nice way of putting this? Increasingly unlikely is what I'm going to go with, because if you have a look at the championship for this season, it's very, very strong. Because sides that are in the Championship next season will include Burnley, who are very recently relegated, which is going to be a little bit spooky. A Sheffield United, who will be looking to get back on form, which is going to be a little bit scary. I'm reading this just in a list, by the way, so I'm not just sort of picking out sides, it's just sort of in order. Wrexham's a weird one because they keep signing players for like £7 million, and it's like, well, I don't know how you're getting away with that with your revenues, but sure, go for it. But they could cause a little bit of a problem as well. Norwich are absolutely resurgent and were towards the back end of last season. West Ham are down there now and will be looking to do everything they possibly can. Millwall, again, ridiculously well performing last season. It's not a good situation for them to be in. Let's be honest. And Southampton's promotion is far from guaranteed. I forgot Wolves as well. But their promotion back to the Premier League is far from guaranteed. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of sort of squad building and all this kind of shit for Southampton to do anything that resembles get promoted. And I think Shay Charles is in a position where, sure, he could stick around at that level and faff about a bit and eventually manage to sort of work his way back to the Premier League, but that's not a guarantee, and he's not going to want to spend another year in the Championship just sort of holding position, when at the end of the day, he is a player that is too good for that level. So I think Leeds coming in and making those significant offers is ultimately going to draw him in our general direction. I'm very, very happy with that. That seems like one of those moves that is ultimately going to make sense for us. It's going to make sense for him. It's sort of going to make a little bit of sense for Southampton, but that's purely because they 100% need to move players on at a certain point. Like, the finances will not be happy. But it's an interesting one. Personally, I still think that Shea Charles is en route in, but we'll find out how that goes going forward. I'm not 1,000% sure on the timing of everything, but we'll see. Anyway, let's have a quick look through the chat. You bet on Argentina winning 2-0. No, Danny, no. You don't do that. Wrong. You gotta back your own nation, and if you don't back your own nation, then afternoon, Joe. So at least Tarek's arrived. I believe Tarek has arrived indeed. Rich says doubtful. I'm not sure what about. Danny says that he flew in from Austria, was on holiday, to which Heather says thank you, which is very, very nice. West Ham keeping Bowen will be massive in that league. Are they actually keeping Bowen? Because that doesn't feel likely. I don't see how they would keep Jared Bowen. Let's have a quick skim. He's set to announce his plans for the future in the coming days. So, I mean, honestly, I think he moves, because I think sticking around at West Ham would be not very good for him and his career. But at the end of the day, it doesn't particularly matter, because I'm not going to pay any attention to the Championship. Sod it. Can't be bothered. When do you expect the Here We Go? I don't know, to be honest with you. Next few days, I guess, but things can change in the world of transfers, and I know that if I sort of overly commit to things, people on the internet go, hey, you're stupid, you got that wrong. And it's like, I'm guessing at things. I don't have any, like, at least in this instance, I don't have any snazzy sources that, like, this is when various bits of information will break to different people. It's just, this is the general direction of travel, and this is what that means, which, you know, a lot of people on the internet tend to bite your head off if they get the opportunity, so I'd rather we not do that. That'd be quite nice. But it's okay. Good afternoon, Heather, and also everyone. Getting bored with the Charles deal now, either put up or shut up. That's the thing, we have put up. I think the people that are saying that we need to get a shift on aren't really paying attention to the fact that behind the scenes, there's always something happening. And the fact that we don't know what that something is yet doesn't mean that it's not going on. Like, I don't know, it's one of those, it's kind of annoying, where it does take forever, but at the end of the day, you find out in the end, and hopefully we find out the good news as opposed to finding out some bad news. The dog's losing his mind. I think we got a delivery. I'll be 1 minute. And we're back. Hello. Right. Anyway, let's keep up with the chat, shall we? I don't mind us going for Charles, just think we're paying 10 to 12 million too much for him. I think that's fairly harsh. I think midfielders in general, especially homegrown ones, are costing more and more and more and more as time goes on. Issue being, you need to make sure that you're not going for the wrong value in those areas, which is where the difficulty kicks in. I think Charles is and will be worth what we're looking at spending on him. It's just a case of making sure that we get that value out of him if he does come. Tony has a feeling we won't be getting Charles. Patrick Frank says, wasn't our main problem last year... Wait, wasn't our main problem last year was scoring? Okay, I think I get what you mean. Yeah, we could have done with some more goals from time to time, couldn't we? But at the end of the day, I don't think we scored too badly. I'll have a quick look. I don't know why I said that in such a weird way. Look, Premier League. How many goals did we get by comparison? So in terms of goals for, we got ourselves 49 goals, which is genuinely not that bad. I know it's fairly easy to say that we might have struggled a little bit, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10. We were the 11th top scorers in the league, which, to be fair, is a firmly mid-table number of goals. We scored more goals than Sunderland, who came 7th, Fulham and Everton, who all finished above us, and then did we score? Yeah, we scored more goals than every single side that finished lower than us in the table. So, I mean, I've not got a particular problem with that. In terms of goals against as well, that was probably our worst stat. We were 5th worst for goals against. But the main issue there was the matches against Arsenal, where we conceded 9 or 10 or something. We scored a daft amount of goals. Conceded, sorry, not scored. Which massively inflated our goals against stat, which means that whereas we did concede 56, if we say that instead we lose 2-0 in both those matches and concede 5 fewer, then we become firmly mid-table in terms of goals conceded. We concede the same amount as like Fulham or Chelsea. I think it was just, thank you very much, Dean Mitchell. Mitchell, that's quite fun. I like that, a double Mitchell. That's too big, I think. Hold on, I'm gonna have to play that again just to resize it. There we go, perfect. Yeah, I think that's the main issue, the fact that we got excessively pumped by Arsenal, and that just made the goals against look a little bit worse. But at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's not that bad. Breaking news, Tarek failed medical, only joking. Danny, why? You've given me an emotional roller coaster in the space of a single message. You monster. You bastard. Honestly, the Mavropanos links, I don't believe, but I'll tell you what, he's a good player. I haven't seen anything about Mavropanos, to be honest with you. I've not seen anything, at the very least, that looks significant. I've seen a couple of sort of general comments, but I've not seen anything that says, this is what's happening and here's why. It just looks a little bit sort of agent talky at the minute, which is understandable, but yeah. Our risk is DCL getting injured. Farker pointed this out. The 49ers decided to take a risk. Foolish to do it again. Go get a striker. I think we will do, but we'll see how that goes. Effortless French. I like Metro. I'm not saying I disagree with you, but 8 goals in the league as a backup. Did he get 8 in the league? I thought he got like 6, maybe. Yeah, he got 6. He got 6 league goals, which again, not bad in the slightest. And Okafor got 8, which is solid. Stacked with 5, and then the player that everyone sort of dogged on all of last season being Brendan Aronson got himself 4 goals and 5 assists. But people will continue to tell me that he's crap, and that's fine. People are allowed their opinions, no matter how wrong they may be. Sorry, I like backing people, you know. Right, where are we? Tarek 34 million plus Charles 25 plus Trafford 40 is 100 if it all happens. Presumably rely on sales to facilitate any more. Left back number 9, number 10 would be the priorities. I think it's not quite right to put it in those terms, because you can also amortize the majority of those fees, which is pretty important. So if you sign someone on a 5-year contract, only 20% of that signing goes on this year's books, which massively helps you to balance things out financially, as opposed to just everything weighing in. So 5-year deal for Muharemovic, for example, is about £7 million of cost this season, which is still significant. And I wouldn't suggest just like going nuts on every single one, but it's a case of any sort of hard budget isn't really the reality of the situation. It's better to stay within budgets, we know that, but there's not the sort of big spook to be discussed, if that makes a little bit of sense. Hang on, I just need to clean something up. There we go. Scoring more goals last season wouldn't have been necessary if the defence hadn't linked so many, mainly early in the season. Yeah, like when we lost hard, which is ideally something that we can avoid. Conceding in the last 10 minutes of games was an issue. Yeah, but we'll work on that. It's fine. Hi, Joe. Any thoughts, men? There's a sentence in there somewhere, and I've not found it. But that's fine. That email in terms of... yeah, I'm not entirely sure, NJ, but we can hope. That'd be nice. That'd be lovely. It's not going to happen. Hello, Joel Robles. Tony Adams fancies us to get Trafford and also says to like the stream, which I think everyone should do. That'd be massively appreciated. Thank you very much. Dead Right Saints deal dead. What? Dead Right Saints deal dead. What? Are you on about Shay Charles? I don't know, but it feels relatively close, I think. If it isn't, it isn't. It's not that much of an issue, but you know what? I can dream. I can dream and be happy. Trafford shows ambition. I find it hard to believe, but now we're living in the Muharemovic financial era, so what do I know? I would like Trafford if we can get him permanently, but if we can't get him as a permanent option, then it's one of those that's like, well, I wouldn't want him on loan necessarily, because that could cause a problem. Remember the money for Strauch will go on last year's books if you're factoring that in. It will, which is a little bit of a confusing issue. But it means that last year's PSR is completely fine, which is good. Hopefully we're all right. That'd be lovely. What do you think will happen seeing as Rodri was... What? What do you think will happen seeing as Rodri was banned for something far less? My guess is nothing. Oh, right. Yeah, nothing, because in essence, they are a little bit afraid to... They're afraid to overly impact the results of games. So if you take the entire Argentina team and you go, you did political statements, you've got a match ban, then they can't field the team, and then you've not got a World Cup final. So whilst it would make a lot of sense for them to actually follow FIFA's rules, whether or not they do is going to be the big sort of question mark. I don't think they will. Ampadu already does the Charles role, get some bloody forwards. Or we could do both. Because it's not just a case of doing one thing. Like, there's been a few times where people have said, we need to do this, not this. The entirety of, like, transfer bits and bobs is you can have multiple things going on at a time. So the amount that people tend to sort of dive into making sure, well, we need this position and this position, and once we've got this position, we're allowed to move on. Fine. But also you can have conversations for multiple roles at the same time. The Shea Charles discussion's been going on for a little while. You know what we did in the meantime? We signed Muharemovic. So, in addition to that, we sold Isaac Schmidt. Because you can do multiple things at the same time. That's... I think to say that we've got someone that does the Shea Charles role, why would you sign Shea Charles, is sort of missing out on the long-term planning aspect of things, because you also need some young, decent, upcoming players that will be able to sort of backfill the squad as time goes on. Which would be fairly significant. Last season we lost to established teams that could bring on 5 Premier League quality subs, which we didn't have. We need to build this option too, as fresh players versus tired legs a key strategy. Yes, and that's why I think we'll build all over the pitch this summer, as opposed to just in the positions that we perceive that we need, because that way you can add more depth, and the more depth you've got, the better you'll do in this league, which is good. If the Charles deal is dead, it's not the end of the world, since it's not the most urgent position to fill, even if Charles would be a good signing at the right price. I think he would be, and I think it would be nice to do, but at the same time, even if that doesn't happen, whatever. It's like Strand Larsen. He was a player that we thought was a gap in the market with decent value to him. If it doesn't work out, fine, whatever, you move on. It's just a question of whether or not we have moved on. How many points do you guess we'll get out of our first 10 games? I'm not going to make a guess on that, because I think the moment you make guesses like that when the transfer market is still going, you throw out all potential to be correct. Because our squad now is going to be completely different to our squad at the time, and our squad at the time is going to sort of evolve in terms of starting lineup and all this kind of stuff. So I'm not going to get drawn into predicting our first 10 games when I have genuinely no idea what our lineup is going to be. Because that would be a bad idea. I think we'll be fine. Like, it'll be a decent number of points, but I don't want to say numbers, you know. Do you think we get money out of Leicester City regarding overspending? I think we do, because there's a very clear precedent that if you're in the Premier League through financial cheating and there's a team that weren't in the Premier League because you financially cheated, you owe them money on like a legal level. So there is potentially a fairly hefty windfall coming in our direction, and that would be absolutely stunning. I'd be incredibly happy with that. How do we have all this budget spending 35 on Muharemovic, 25 on Charles, already 60 million? We don't know what the budget is the weirdness. Like, the sort of estimated numbers were about 120 million, but we can also sell players, and amortization is a thing, and going forwards there's potential to loan things and structure deals in a way that we pay them over a longer period of time. So Muharemovic could, in theory, be 24 million plus 5 in future years, which puts a little bit of the weight off this season. But yeah, it's hard to sort of land. Why do we always edge out transfers and announcements? Barely anything for weeks, just scraps and rumours, then we bust a load of cash over a European. I think it's because sometimes transfers take a while to do, and then when we've found someone with a lot of potential value, we just go for it, which is what we've done in this specific conversation, which is good. Afternoon, sorry to be like, it's okay. Joe, what are your thoughts on a striker? Could do with one, ideally one that is more of a pacey, line-breaking run kind of guy, because I think that is something that we might miss at the minute. So a little bit Jermaine Defoe-y, if that makes sense. Charles isn't training with the Southampton first team squad in the last few days. I think that's because he's on the move, to be honest. Piru, Harrison, Joffrey, Largy and Woba are the most important to move on. Absolutely agreed. I'm not going to stream for too long more, by the way, because I've got parenting to get to and I've got some food to eat, so that'd be quite nice. Wilson can play the 10 as well. Yes, he can, and I love that fact. I like the versatility that we're getting throughout the squad, because if you've got versatility, you can go from system to system to system. Openda, I've not really seen enough of, and the rumours that I've seen are not from the most firm of sources. I might have missed things, I don't know. But I don't think Openda's going to be the way to go for us, to be honest. But we'll see. It'll be fine. We'll make the right moves. Leeds should have threatened legal action against Leicester before and asked for Jeremy Monga to close the case. Too late now, but food for thought. I don't think you're allowed to do that. I think that's a form of blackmail. If we did that and ended up with Jeremy Monga, that'd be lovely. He wouldn't play in the Premier League for a while, but it'd be nice. But that'd be good. Very good answer. No point guessing our points total. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. Is Openda Jermaine Defoe? Right, okay, we're not making Jermaine Defoe an official form of the way that we convey that idea. Oh, that would be good. Can we make that a thing? Can we make Jermaine Defoe a thing? I like the idea of it. But you know what I mean, the sort of quick striker that runs off the shoulder, that kind of role. Not necessarily a tall boy, but playing alongside a bunch of tall boys. Which, you know what, if it works, it works. I'll take it. We'll see. What language is Openda crazy in? What? Okay, that's a little bit weird. Something translated a little bit funky. But yeah, ultimately I think we know that we've got Muharemovic en route. The Charles deal appears to be nearing, but we'll see how that one goes going forwards. It's sort of a curious one. Joe, your sound isn't the best, could be louder. Yes, that's because I've not got the microphone here. If I had the microphone here, then it would be significantly louder. Is this better or worse? Pop a 1 in the chat if it's better, pop a 2 in the chat if it's worse. I'm a little bit curious. I'm assuming not as good. Wait, was it 1 better, 2 worse? I think it was. But yeah, let's do that. But if this is a bit better, let me know. The issue being that outside is loudness and cars and screaming children. So 1 better. What? Really? Okay. then I will stick with a far, far closer microphone going forwards. Do you see Noah Okafor still with us next season if a 20 million offer came in? Yeah, I see him sticking around, to be honest with you. I don't see any reason that we would sell him because he absolutely changed us when he was on the pitch. I guess the question is more around, would he want to stick around or would he want to push onwards? I don't see any reason that he wouldn't stick around, to be honest, because he's played pretty well at Leeds last season. It got him into a World Cup squad, not playing minutes, but that's less Leeds' fault and more his manager's fault. And then, yeah, your sound is often lower, but when you put it close, so to speak. That's the weird thing, because I'm nearly peaking up my mic the majority of the time. So I'll see if I can adjust it. And do that. Maybe if I had a little bit of gain. Then that should be a little bit louder, I think. But we'll find out. We'll see how that goes. Jermaine, whose shirt am I wearing, bro? Defoe, pacey, great finisher, takes on shots you really shouldn't be trying, but gets away with it. Yeah, that kind of forward that is a different profile to what we've got with Calvert-Lewin and Mecha will be quite good. If we sell Okafor for 20 million, we'll be making a loss. No, it won't. I don't think so. Let's have a check. But I'm convinced that last summer the most we spent on someone was either B or lost stack. Noah Okafor. Joined Leeds United for... if I can find it. Transfers. 19 million euros. So we wouldn't make a loss. If anything, it'd be a profit. So I would absolutely take a profit, but I wouldn't want to sell him in the first place. So why do we always edge out transfers and announcements? Barely anything per week, just scraps and rumours, then we burst out loads of cash for Europeans. I swear I've discussed this one. Yeah, it's more because a lot of conversation happens behind the scenes, and you can move quickly if you're more bothered about filling the role than being financially efficient, which is, at the end of the day, what we've done in this situation. We've seen, right, Strouk's gone. We need this starting centre-back. This guy's really, really good. Let's just do it and throw some money at it, which is good. Stack was the biggest spend last summer, 18 million quid. There we go. So 20 million pounds for anyone's a profit, apart from Muharemovic. But if we sell Muharemovic right now, it'd be baffling. What's the source on Charles being close? So there was the various sources for both, well, all of me and Joe and Matty earlier in the week, who are independent people that have all brought these stories from different places to different people. And it's also been sort of discussed a little bit further in, I believe, Saints Extra was the one that publicised it a little bit earlier today. But the conversation is continuing to go on. But we'll see. Hopefully it all works out fine. But I'm looking forward to that. Book value includes wages. Does it? I'm not sure. What are his wages anyway? No, I'm not sure it does. I don't know. Certainly the left-back option must be options in the Championship. I think we got to look above the Championship, to be honest with you, because there is a decent chance, if there is a Goodmanson injury, that we would need to play them ideally relatively consistently. If we've not got Goodmanson, I would like us to not have to... Thank you very much, all boxed up. Hold on, you guys didn't hear the Welshman, so I'll have to replay that alert once it's gone away. There we go.
Big up, Joe.
Thanks, all boxed up 2874. Joe, would you use Piru in a swap deal? No, I wouldn't use Piru in a swap deal, mainly because swap deals don't make too much sense. Because the way that it works with PSR and stuff is that you are, according to the books, giving away a player. You're not getting a fee in return, which means that it knacks your profit-loss ratios. So I wouldn't swap deal. There's potential for we sell him to them and they sell someone to us, and then it all financially adds up quite nice and neatly. But that's also probably not the best of ways to go. In terms of Cooper and Burrows, I think we can look for a more elite level goalkeeper, and Burrows I'm not entirely convinced by, to be honest with you. I think we need to be looking a little bit beyond Sheffield United at the minute, which I think we will do, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to bring that stream to a close there. It was an absolute pleasure having you all on board with me, as always. If you enjoyed, please pop a like on the stream. That'd be massively appreciated. It's currently on 58. If we could reach a, I don't know, big number. I was going to say a number and I can't think of anything. But if you see, that's what I'll say. You see the number that the like counter is at for you. I think the target should be one more than the number of likes that is. So if you press like on it now, that'd be lovely. Also, subscribe. That'd be quite nice. Become a channel member. It's all good stuff. I'm going to nip off. Hope you enjoyed. And I will see you all later. Toodaloo. Also, we're all supporting Spain in the final, right? Okay, cool. Toodaloo.